Woo! Okay. StreamYard has just gone red, which means that I am live. So now I got to wait for YouTube to let you know that I'm live. And then we can begin with another episode of VypDrive. We got Digital Slang. What's up, man? How you doing? Thank you for hopping in earlier on the stream. I appreciate you, man. Gabriel Black, what's up, man? How you doing? How y'all doing? I think we got 8 people in here. Zach Talk Tech is in here too. What's up, Zach? How you doing? I appreciate you guys dropping in for another episode of VypDrive with me and Christina here. We got her in the back. We got her. So we're going to go do the introduction, bring her in, have a chit chat, and see what we got out here. Because, yes, time to go to work. Let me take a drink real quick. And then we can begin. Woo! What's up, Marvin? How you doing, baby? How you doing? Marvin Wallace in the building. Okay. So, this is VypDrive episode 133. And consequently, this is the season 2 finale of the podcast, which means there won't be any more VypDrive episodes for a while after this one. I am focusing my attention on other things, but now I'm not saying that the podcast is going away for the entirety of the rest of 2020. I'm just saying that you all are not going to get another episode for at least a month or two after this one, but that's neither here nor there. Today, we have my good friend Christina in the back. She's ready to rock and roll. She's here. She's next on VypDrive, which starts now. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, and welcome back to another episode of VypDrive. This is the podcast about tech, hosted by the man about tech. And today, she returns to the podcast. That's right. We have the queen of creative flow in the building. So let's welcome back Mrs. Christina Red to the podcast. Hey, Christina, how you doing?
You know how to hype people up so well. Like, you just need to be an alarm clock or something. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, no doubt. I appreciate you. It's this dude, Zach. Shout out to Zach for the super chat. We'll get to that in a minute, but I appreciate you, Zach. But thank you. So, thank you for the time. I know you're busy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So,
absolutely.
The first thing I want to ask you, I know you've been busy, and I know why you've been busy. You have been busy because you have recently become, I don't know if it's recently, but you have become an Adobe resident. Now, I kind of have an idea of what that is and what that means, but for those of us that don't know exactly what that means and what that entails, Christina, can you please break down what it means to be an Adobe resident?
Yes. So in 10 seconds, and being an Adobe creative resident is essentially Adobe paying for your passion project. So previous residents have had an entire year paid for. So they basically are on salary to pursue their creative dream. You can basically, what you need to do is you need to, like, Adobe has applications open, and you pitch them your idea, your project, the thing that you're excited about, and Adobe basically sponsors it. So part of it is obviously showing how you use your Adobe products in your creative process. That obviously is a big selling point for them because they get some level of value. But like for my project in specific, I've been really keen on underwater photography and filmmaking. I've done topside stuff like pretty well. So kind of tackling life under the sea. And I'm just obsessed with it. So I pitched them this video series idea that I've had since the beginning of isolation, and they agreed. And now I'm a resident, and I'm working through that video series with them.
That is awesome. Congratulations on becoming an Adobe creative resident. I mean, if anybody's going to be a creative resident, we got to have the queen of creative flow be an Adobe creative resident. So that is good money spent on Adobe. So shout out to Adobe. If you're watching and listening, you guys made a good investment. She will not let you down. She is the real deal. So how long, so I know you said that the idea is that you pitched him a project and then they back your project. So I guess I'm just curious, how long do you anticipate your project being?
So the project is 4 videos. I am 1 video into it, actually 1.5. I'm almost finished with the second one. So it's 4 videos. The goal is to do that over the course of a month, but video always takes longer than it should. So I've been an Adobe resident for a little bit longer than I should be, which is really fun because it's fun meeting the other residents and the other folk that are keen on it. There's a ton of graphic designers, a ton of photographers, and yeah, there's not very many video people, but it's nice because it's less saturated. So the video people, it's like, tell me what you do, let me learn your stuff, as opposed to like the 1,000 of designers that there are, which no shade.
I know
I
you.
can't.
So I already know you're out there interrogating the video people like, yo, what you doing?
Oh my gosh.
What you doing out there? What you doing? I know how you do it.
Yeah. Well, it was really interesting. The first onboarding meeting that we had, Tyler Babin was there, and he was actually drilling us, like, what's your project? And with this project, it's been kind of interesting to figure out exactly how to pitch it. Because like when it's an idea in your head and you have to communicate it to people, that's when you need to like get your verbiage right. You need to be able to explain what you're doing in a sentence. So it's kind of fun being on the spot and explaining what this project is. I reword it differently every time though. So
awesome. So this is a tech podcast. And with you doing underwater content, there has to be a lot of tech involved in that because you just can't take your camera underwater and go, bam, I'm shooting a video underwater. So I'm curious, Christina, what is some of the tech that you are using to film this underwater content? Because like I said, you just can't take a Sony underwater. That's just not going to work. Yeah,
I wish that I had the housing set up. It is massive. So I'm using my Sony a7S Mark III with a 16 to 35 millimeter lens. And then a dome port. This is the lens. I actually had to black out the like all of the information because just the way the sun hits the dome, it'll actually reflect. So it kind of looks cool. So I'm using that, and the camera housing that I'm using is an Ikelite housing. It is, I mean, this thing, we like to travel pretty lightweight. If we don't have to bring a check-on, carry whatever, we won't, but it's not an option anymore. If we're traveling because of filming in the water, it is a massive piece of equipment. So I'm using an Ikelite housing with a 9-inch dome port, I think 7 or 9 inches. And it's really fun. I've had to shoot manual more often, which I've resisted manual. It's like, well, if I can shoot aperture priority, why would I ever learn manual? Well, I'm learning manual now. Doing a lot more photography underwater, primarily because filming underwater is just really hard and I'm not ready for all my footage to be bad yet. Like I need to at least make some good videos. So what I'll do is I'll put a GoPro on the top of the dome port, and I'll be shooting photos. So it's really fun hearing that like shutter underwater. And that's where I'm getting my footage from. So I'm getting my footage from the GoPro. I'm getting the photos from the Sony. Sometimes I'm getting videos from the Sony. And I'm just trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing. I don't scuba dive because honestly, I just want to jump in the water and go. So I've had to learn how to free dive and hold my breath for like 2 minutes. Some people can hold their breath for like 9 minutes, which is absolutely insane. But just learning proper breath holding techniques, diving down. Yeah. When is this podcast gonna like officially be out? Question. Is it like
probably not for at least a week or so?
Okay, good. Well, I won't tell my mom about this part, but this week is Shark Week. So you can only guess what I'm going to go do.
Going swimming with the sharks, aren't you?
Yep. No cage. So
what?
I'm a bit yeah. I'm a bit nervous, but I'm excited for the experience. I'm excited to learn more about sharks and sea life and Well, I'm going with like professionals. I'm not just going with a bunch of friends to like feed sharks.
I hope you're going with professionals with guns. What are you thinking, Christina? What's going on?
Yeah, so I'm pretty stoked about it. There'll be a video about that coming out probably in about a month. I'm backlogged in content, which is how I like it. That way I have time to create. We have a business as well. We basically have a creative agency at this point. We're no longer freelancers. So Mr. Tech Rant, hell no. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the content, and I'm just going hard in, making myself a presence in the underwater community on YouTube and off.
Okay, so I'm curious. I know you said that you carry the Ike dome thing that protects your camera while it's underwater, but how do you like go about filming and doing video with the Sony underwater in the dome? Because obviously when you're taking a picture of something, you usually have to like hit the shutter button or like tap the touch screen, but you really can't get to those controls underwater. Otherwise, you're risking damaging the camera. So how does that work exactly?
Yeah, I'm texting James. Can you bring me the housing, please?
So for those of y'all listening on audio, she's gonna actually get the equipment that she uses, and I guess we're gonna have a visual presentation. So I will try to describe it to you guys the best I can.
I'll do my best to describe as well. So with the Ike-like housing, it's essentially a big piece of plastic with a bunch of like O-rings, and there's buttons for literally, it's in the bedroom. There's buttons for literally every single setting. So like you have your C1, C2, C3s. You have a shutter. There's a trigger for the shutter. So it's not a button for the shutter. It's a trigger, which feels really, really cool. Thank you, sir. So this is the housing without the dome port. This is not a very good lens. So the dome port goes in the front, and then behind the housing, you have, this is kind of where the camera would go, and you have buttons all around it. There's your record button. My apologies if the camera's not focusing. We're getting a new webcam pretty soon. And then you turn it around. I'm trying to do my good mic etiquette here. And right here, you have a shutter. So the shutter, like there's just knobs and nozzles all throughout this thing.
So for those of y'all listening on audio only, what she's showing me essentially looks like some type of big camera looking thingy. I guess it covers the actual camera, and this big camera looking thingy has all sorts of buttons and knobs that are kind of in place of the actual buttons and knobs on the camera that you would be using. So like I was alluding to earlier, when you want to film video on a Sony, you have to there's a button on the actual camera that you hit. If you want to take a photo, there's a button on the actual camera. But when you're underwater, you can't really get to those buttons. So this little big camera housing thing that she has right now in her hand has those buttons that are replacing the actual camera buttons, which are then used to actually replicate the function on the actual camera. So it's pretty cool. And I'm guessing that thing has to be waterproof. Otherwise, it just wouldn't work.
Yes. So actually what I do, so there's some camera housings that have a water sensor, and I think I might get one on Amazon because it's literally just a little piece of like strip of metal that let me try to get this to focus again. There's a little strip of metal that you put in, and it has like a high pitched buzz if water gets into the housing. But right now what I have to do is I have to basically load it with air. So I have to pressurize it. So I have this like little pressure gun. TSA always has a fun time. Like, what the heck is this? Tell them it's an air pressure gun. They don't like that. So I load it with air, and I leave it for about 30 minutes, which is pretty annoying. I leave it for about 30 minutes. And if the air pressure stays the same, that means that there are no leaks. So it's loaded with air. If there are no leaks, then the air pressure is going to remain the same, and that means that no air can get in or out. If no air can get in or out, that means no water can get in or out.
That makes sense.
Ooh, that was a mouthful. Goodness
gracious. That is a pretty large contraption, and you have to travel with that all the time. No wonder you got the guns over there. You got that large contraption over there. No wonder you ain't got to go to the gym. You got the gym. You bringing the gym with you with that big thing.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Woo,
gotta keep the upper body right.
No, hey, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. I know. I see you over there working with that big camera thing. That thing has to be like what, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pounds. That thing looks huge over there, man. No.
With the camera in it, it's got to be 10 pounds. And then because it's filled with air, I'm pressurizing it before I get into the water. It's essentially a big balloon. So
Right.
when I dive, it's pulling me back up. So I have to put a 5-pound weight on top of it. It's pretty annoying, honestly, but
I bet, but hey, as long as you can use it to get the footage and photos that you want underwater, I guess it's worth it.
yeah, I haven't been so excited about making content in a very, very long time.
I know.
Throughout YouTube and like just what we've been doing, we've always been kind of fumbling our way, like, okay, well, what do we do that makes us interesting? Well, we have a business that like we make ads for agencies, we're making commercials for TV, we're doing all of this great stuff. Why aren't people paying attention to us? But it's because like I don't feel like I was really stoked on those videos. I mean, the videos were amazing because I'm a really good editor and James is a great filmer, but it wasn't a thing that I was like really passionate about that really made us stand out, because I don't know anybody in the tech YouTube space who's an underwater photographer. So
You're the only one I know.
2 years from now, like this is kind of our goal and like the direction that we're trying to take our business. But we have obviously like freelancing stuff, which we could talk about if you want, but it's totally up to you. It's your podcast. Do what you want.
I appreciate you. So shout out to the 14 of you all that are watching the podcast live today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of VypDrive with me and Christina. I appreciate you guys rocking out each and every time this podcast is live. If you guys want to go check out her content, her channel link is in the description. Definitely go check her out for some of that exciting underwater content. I'm pretty sure you will see something that you've never seen before, because underwater content is very, very interesting. Trust me when I tell you. Also, if you guys want to support or donate to the podcast, you do have the option of super chat. Super chats are open, not required, but anything you're willing to contribute, greatly appreciate it. If you don't want YouTube to take a 30% of your super chat donation, you also have the option to buy me a coffee. That link is in the description as always. Again, not required, but anything you're willing to do, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Shout out to those of y'all listening on audio only this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and the queen of creative flow, Christina Red. If you guys want to go check out her underwater content, the links are in the show notes. Definitely go down there and give her a look. You'll see something that you've never seen before. I can pretty much guarantee you that she is legit. Also, if you guys want to support the podcast, there should be a link in the show notes to buy me a coffee. Not required, but anything that you're willing to contribute, greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review, as it helps more people discover the podcast, helps us get back to the top 200 of tech podcasts on Apple. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please, please, please consider leaving a rating or review. Help me get back to the top 200. And thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. So Christina, you kind of explained this a little bit just now, but I hopefully you can go elaborate a little bit deeper into it. You have mentioned multiple times already on the podcast that you are a creative agency. I know you said you used to freelance a lot, but now your business is basically a creative agency. So can you please explain that term?
Yes, it's a better way of saying a creative sweatshop. Basically, the background behind it is James is my husband. We have worked together in the creative space for forever, like since we were 11 or so. But there was a point where we were kind of tired of working at our day jobs and needed a way out. So we started freelancing. We worked with several different creators, editing podcasts, editing their YouTube channel, like their main videos. And that got us to a place where we were able to then quit our jobs, but obviously you want to diversify your income. So we went from editing YouTube videos to creating ads for Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Instagram stories, literally anywhere that a mega company can make money off of selling you ads, we're making those ads. But we're not making crappy ads. We make ads that stand apart from all the other ones. Our goal is to honestly just make really good content, whether it be for us or brands. So we went from just James and I kind of hammering it away we have several different people that we work with. So several different freelancers that we hire to make these ads. So we now have a team, and everything comes in and out from our eyes. We touch every single video that is released to the internet, because at the end of the day, it's our name that's on the line. It's our content that we own the rights to it. It's our intellectual property. And I just want to make sure that it's good all the time. So that we've gone from freelancers kind of working with these random companies to being this agency, where an agency kind of has a weird term to it. I've never really liked agencies, but I think the way that James and I do it is unique, because each client gets our attention, and honestly, it's funding our passion projects, and it's helping us build our own brands, so we can then kind of shift the tides, either sell or just go in the direction that we want to go with our own brands.
That is pretty cool. A creative agency where you make ads for different brands. Now, this is probably a dumb question, but I'm gonna ask anyway, because I don't know about what you do and how your content gets to where it needs to go. But I'm curious, the ads that you make for these brands, where do they end up going? Where could somebody like me see these ads?
So if you're on Instagram, you'll see them. If you're on Facebook, you'll see them. Snapchat, Instagram stories, literally all sorts of ad platforms. We have an ad that's on TV now. So you might see something that we've created on TV, which is kind of exciting and kind of hilarious, because I've always crapped on like commercials, but hey, they asked us to make it. And so with this commercial that we made, I said, first of all, I didn't ask to make this commercial. They asked me to do it. So that definitely gives me way more leverage.
Oh yeah.
So with this commercial that they came to me and said, we need you to make this thing, I essentially requested full creative control. If we're going to do this, I want to do it my way. I want to cast it. I want to have say of everything. So it was kind of fun being more so in the producer role as opposed to like the video editor role. So we produced it, directed it. Obviously we edited it and we shot it. We did everything. And the opening shot of this commercial that's on like all network television is somebody vlogging. And that was really important to me, because commercials are boring. Nobody watches them except for the Super Bowl. And I wanted to make something that if it kind of caught the corner of your eye, you'd kind of go like, wait, what's going on? We're watching Hallmark and there's a vlogger on the screen. And then you've caught the people's like first 4 seconds of attention. Now you're paying attention. Now you're paying attention to the entire ad and kind of getting the brand's message across there. So that's been really fun. And it's been really fun to work on the back end with companies, because we're creators. We're creators first. And it's really interesting to learn how brands are thinking about it, and how, I can, flip a switch in my mind and go more in the marketing direction, whereas I naturally would go more in the creative direction. And it's fun merging those two worlds, where marketing and creative, the first 4 seconds of a TV commercial, somebody's vlogging.
I mean, I think me and you both know that the way that advertising and marketing was done in the past has drastically changed over the past 10 years, especially with the rise of influencer marketing. And especially if during this time that we are in the middle of a global pandemic, I think the whole influencer marketing thing is more on the rise each and every day, especially now. So, I mean, that has to make you feel good, because that's kind of like where you're at personally. I mean, you being a creator, you know how to use your knowledge of making like creative content and knowing what people expect and what they need to keep their attention in order to make these ads for these brands. So you are uniquely qualified to do that, I would say.
Yeah, and it's crazy, because we didn't plan for this. All we wanted to do was not work at a bank and work at Starbucks. But we kind of have made ourselves into like this networking community where people are coming to us as like the experts. Like, I recently created an ad that went viral. I've never made a video that has gone viral. So now I'm getting all of these requests. It's like, please tell us how you did it. And my gut response is, I don't know how I did it. I just did what I thought looked good. But obviously you don't want to say that, you want to sound professional. So it's caused me to, it's caused me to basically deconstruct how we make videos and how the videos, like how we make the videos perform well.
Definitely. That is some good stuff. So
yeah,
I am looking at the same thing that you're looking at. I'm throwing into the conversation. I didn't even notice, but yeah, it does sound like your audio is not coming from the Shure because it sounds kind of hollow. So I'm guessing it's coming from your AirPods or something else. It's not coming from your Shure.
What about now?
Now we have Shure audio. There we go.
Oh man, Zach, you should have said that 2 minutes into the podcast. Here I am talking into a Shure SM7B. I sound like a potato. I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't.
Like I said, I should have picked up on it, but I'm throwing into the conversation. I didn't even pick up on it. That's funny.
My apologies.
It's all good. So while we're on the subject of Zach, he asked a question earlier with his super chat. Thank you, Zach. He wants to know, Christina, do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
That's a fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. It's a great question. I would say a hot dog is not a sandwich, firmly, because sandwiches are disconnected. If anything, a hot dog is a taco.
Oh, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to flip the script. Is a hot dog... hold on. I think I'm forgetting it. Is a hot dog a salad or a sandwich? That's the real question.
A salad or a sandwich?
Is it a salad or a sandwich?
How does a hot dog even fall in the realm of salad?
Okay, then I guess it's a sandwich.
It's neither or, but okay.
Well, no, let's just not deconstruct it. You need to have like an argument about this.
Oh, you want me to actually formally?
I'm waiting. Yeah. You can't just say, oh, it's a sandwich. I need to know why the hot dog is not a salad. Because you can eat a hot dog with a fork if you want.
That does not make a hot dog a salad. Actually, I'm not even qualified to answer what a salad is. I don't eat salad. But I can tell you it's not a sandwich because as I explained on this podcast and live stream before, if it is a sandwich, it is a piece of meat in between two individual slices of bread, and that is what makes it a sandwich. The fact that a hot dog is caught in a one continuous piece of bread means it is eliminated from the sandwich category. Actually, somebody answered the question best when they said a hot dog is a hot dog. It's not a sandwich. It's just a hot dog. It is its own category. Yeah.
It doesn't get its own category. You can't have one food group. No. Okay, forget the salad sandwich thing. You can't have one food group in a category. And you don't say like, well, a hoagie. A hoagie's a hot dog. You can't have just like a hot dog's a hot dog and that's it. You have very specific food categories.
I mean, you can do that, but a hot dog is still in its own little like island. It's a hot dog.
A hot dog is a taco.
All right. Well, if you want to call it a taco, we can call it a taco because it's more of a taco than it's a sandwich. So it
definitely is more than a taco than it is a sandwich. I mean, that's for sure.
Yes.
But I mean, you can categorize it as different things.
Absolutely.
This is America. A hot dog can identify as like a fruit if it wants to. Like you can have a hot dog as whatever. You just live your truth.
Interesting. But yes, I think we can agree that a hot dog is not a sandwich.
Mm-hmm. No. Would you describe chips as a salad or a sandwich? Then you need to answer this or else I'm going to leave.
You're going to leave, huh?
Yeah. Is chips, bag of chips, is that a salad or a sandwich? I would say it's a salad.
It's not a sandwich. It's a chip.
Well, okay, then it's a salad. Chips can't be its own category. This is a tech podcast.
You realize that these are all in their own category, right? Chips doesn't.
No, they're not. Oh my goodness.
Wow. How do you label chips a salad? How does that even work? Like they're not even in
an individual thing.
Book.
It's not a sandwich. You can't put a chip in a bread.
It's a potato chip. That's what it is.
Salad is an individual. Salad is
Oh,
basically
God.
leaf chips.
Oh my goodness. Leaf chip. Wow. Okay. That's an interesting classification of a salad. All right.
Is a soup a salad or a sandwich? A soup is a salad. You eat it with a spoon or a fork.
Isn't soup its own category? I think soup is its own category. I don't think you can categorize it as a salad. Although there is
Do
a
whatever
salad
I want.
soup, that's where we're at. We can do whatever. What is it? Christina Red.
But you're not allowed to. But you're not allowed to because
I'm allowed. It's my podcast. I'm never allowed
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's too much. This is too much. Woo. So,
Can you make a sandwich with chips? You can, but then your sandwich becomes a chip sandwich. But a chip individually is not a sandwich. A chip is a salad. I yield my time.
I don't know where she gets the stuff, y'all, but I'm going to let her have it. So, Christina, Miss Creator, Miss Underwater Photography, curious, what is your everyday carry as far as tech? Like, what tech do you carry with you every day, given that you're always on the go and traveling and things like that?
Always have a phone, no matter what.
Which phone?
iPhone 10s,
Okay.
which the mic is doing something weird on it, so I'm excited for whatever else is next. I have my iPad Pro, which I used to crap on people who used iPad Pros because I was like, I can't see it working. It's essentially a glorified notepad, but it is so valuable just to be able to scribble down whatever thoughts I have. So I really, really love my iPad. Obviously, I need my laptop. And I'm actually not shooting every single day just because the style of videos that we're doing, I don't need it. I'm not a daily vlogger. But whenever I am shooting, obviously I have my Sony a7S with a 16-35. This is my favorite lens, which is hilarious because I used to hate wide angle so passionately because it's like I used to say, well, it's a shot of everything, so it's a shot of nothing. I was stupid. I was wrong. Wide angle is great. So whenever I'm actually shooting, I'll have the A7S Mark III. No, excuse me. I'm getting excited about the future. I'll have my A7 Mark III and then the 16-35.
So you just made it slip. So I'm guessing that you put your pre-order in for the A7S Mark III, huh?
Oh boy. Yes, I did.
Yeah, she didn't even hesitate on it. She's like, yeah, I did.
So it's kind of silly. And thankfully it's a good camera. But 3 years ago when I was like really trying and grinding, like I honestly want to be able to have enough money to pre-order whatever I want. Like that, I will work as hard as I can to be able to do that. It's not about money, but when the A7S came out, that was like a moment where I was like, I can just order this and it doesn't hurt. Like I'm not taking it from my savings account and just hoping for the best. So that was kind of a big moment for me whenever it came out. I snagged it. I texted James. I was like, it's a good camera, but I think there was a weird part of me, and I would not advise anybody do this, but there was a part of me that was like, I don't care if it's a good camera or not, I'm getting it, because it was kind of like a milestone in my creative journey. Thankfully, it seems like a great camera. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
I mean, all the reviews that I've seen of the camera so far, people are waxing poetic. They're saying it's damn near the perfect camera. Even my man Gerald Undone gave it like one of the highest like ratings on his scale. So the Sony A7S III is definitely getting the job done, and I'm pretty sure that you will do amazing things with that device. I can only imagine the content that you're going to be able to create with that camera.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. But at this point, we probably need to like chill it with the gear. We've never been gearheads, but I think we're done. I do need to get another one of these lenses, the 16-35s, because when I'm shooting and this is one of the reasons why I justifiably got the A7S, is because the setup with underwater takes forever. I like to just pick up the camera, run and go. But I don't want to flood my housing, so I want to make sure that it's good. Like I want to make sure the camera's in there. I'll put it in 45 minutes beforehand, but that means I can't really shoot anything of really good quality for 45 minutes. And that's usually when things are going. So the A7 is essentially going to become a photo camera.
Mm-hmm.
And the A7S is obviously going to become video. That way, I don't have to go back and forth, freak out if, it's 20 minutes before getting the camera in the housing and I have to get into the water and, be anxious about it. But I like this wide angle lens so much that I'm planning on getting another. But then after that, I can press pause on that stuff.
So it's funny that you talk about how you can justify buying gear and things like that. I had a live stream earlier today, and someone was asking me about should they buy such and such gear, and my answer was, how often are you going to use the gear? Are you in a situation where the gear can pay for itself in the long run? If you're going to use it a lot, and you're in a situation where the gear can pay itself off over time, then yeah, go ahead and buy the gear. But if you are in a situation where you are doing it as a hobby, or the gear is not going to be able to pay itself off over a period of time, then you probably shouldn't buy because it's not going to be a good investment for that time. I'm curious to get your take on it because obviously you are in a situation now where you can afford whatever gear you want per se, and you're going to go out there and you're going to use that gear to produce your content, and your gear is going to make you money because that's how you make your bread and butter.
Yeah, I think the way that you put it is actually a fantastic way to approach it. Yesterday, so we were shooting a stop motion for one of the companies that we work with. And I had a moment where I was like, cameras are really good investments. We've made a lot of money with this camera. So I think 100% to what you're saying. And also, it's important not to get hung up on gear. I say that as somebody that's kind of turning into a gearhead. But for a long time, I thought my image would get better if I had a better sensor, or like my videos would get better. And when that, I guess that's technically true, but better cameras don't make your story better. So it doesn't, like this is no shade to people who just make montage videos, but that kind of gets old to see like a big underwater montage or like a big travel montage, because at a point, like there's no story. You're just kind of filming out the window and like your hand is like this. What is that? So I say, if you know your story and you know exactly why you're getting the camera, not just because it is like the next biggest thing. I kind of sound like a hypocrite because that's what I said the complete opposite about the A7. But if you can explain to yourself, okay, I need this camera because I need to shoot 60 frames per second in 4K. Why do you need to shoot in 4K when 1080p is just as like, that's pretty fine? Well, I want to shoot in 4K because I want my videos to be in this place. Or, I mean, you can just have that passion for like really high resolution, and that could justify it. But as long as you have an answer to some of your questions, like be your own devil's advocate. Because oftentimes like the camera that you have is fine.
Yep. Well said. So
yeah.
Usually Renee Ritchie is here to cause trouble, but since Renee Ritchie is not here to cause trouble, I'll cause it for him. Now I know you're not the filmer as much as James is, but I'm curious to get your thoughts, Christina. 24 frames per second versus 30. Where do you stand?
I say 24 frames per second. I can't give good reasons because I was just indoctrinated that way. But I will say I do understand why. Like I can't basically crap on those who like 30 frames per second, but I say 24 frames per second just because it's like, it just looks better. 30 plus, I'm looking at too many frames. Like my eyes are like, my eyes are dealing with a lot. But I saw somebody online say like you get better thumbnails or whatever with 30 frames per second. Because there's obviously more frames. But yeah, I say 24, but it's with a massive caveat of when I first started learning, James told me 24 frames per second was better. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
I know when I had Jero on the show, he told me he does most of his videos in 24 frames, but when he does live stream, he does it in 30 frames per second, which kind of makes sense because you obviously you want a more stable, smoother image when you're live streaming. So 30
Mhm.
frames per second would be more ideal for live streaming. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the technical specs of things, there's a point where I kind of my eyes glaze over with stuff. So for example, with color grading, James and I have recently had the conversation. We need to learn how to do things properly. When it comes to color grading, we just kind of eyeball it. Pull the saturation, that doesn't look good. Drop it down a little bit. What's a middle ground? That looks fine. But I think we need to start learning a little bit more of like the science and the why behind why you raise highlights and drop the whites, vice versa. What does that do? And it's, I think with this underwater stuff, it's a good place for me to start from scratch because color grading underwater is completely different than on land. And I can get into like the nerdy reasons why, but I don't want to bore you.
Chief among them being underwater, probably more blue than anything. So you need to color grade that correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So every like 10 feet or 10 meters, I forget which one, that you go down, you lose color. So if you're 100 feet down, there are no reds. The reds are gone. So you'll have like a red filter, kind of like a polarizer filter, but it's just red. You put that on top of your camera to help your camera adjust for all of that. It's really geeky, but, and granted, I'm not going that deep, so I really don't struggle with color loss that much, except when it comes to shooting photos. If I'm more at the surface and like my subject is a spearfisher and they're at 20 feet below me, their skin, so I'll use the example with me, I'm very brown. So when James is shooting me at the surface and I'm 20 feet below him, my skin looks blue. And if you take the color, like if you take the color eyedropper and drag it onto my skin, it will show that it's blue. So what I've had to do, and this might not be the correct way, still learning at this point, but what I've had to do is kind of go in and kind of trace my body and bring up the oranges and stuff and really bring my skin back to life. That way there's some level of contrast underwater. So we need to learn the proper like technical ways of doing things when it comes to, shooting. Maybe in 6 months, I might be like, you know what? 30 frames per second is the bomb. I probably won't, but I might if I learn that is better for some reason. I don't know. Maybe the Canadians can convince me. I know like in England, they shoot 25 and like 50 frames per second. I don't know what they're doing.
I don't know. That's very interesting points that you make. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very
Yeah.
interesting.
So
you said earlier that you are going to go down beneath with the shark. So I'm curious, what is your objective when you go down there with the sharks? Are you just like trying to shoot footage of sharks swimming around? Are you going to be interacting with these sharks? Like what is the objective when you go down there?
boy, I'm not gonna be interacting with those sharks.
I don't know.
Man, listen, maybe in a couple of years when I have experience and I know what to look for when the shark is like, I'm hungry now. But right now, I'm not trying. Like, if there's bait in the water, we can go find some other sharks. I'm not playing that because I don't know. I've seen Shark Week, but I've also learned that a lot of this is just like narrative driven and like sharks kind of, you think of Jaws and they're just trying to eat you because they love humans. Sharks really could care less about humans. They care more about what you have. So for example, and this is just what I'm learning so far, but when we were in the Bahamas about a month ago, we went spearfishing. So we speared a fish, was great. And the second that fish is dead, you need to shoot up to the top and hold the fish out of the water because then the sharks around will smell. And, sharks don't really have discernment of your arm and a fish. They just want the fish. So they're not going after people. They don't really have bloodlust for people. They're more interested in the thing that they want to eat. The problem is, you have sharks and like we're humans and we don't do well with shark bites. And like, so there's also like certain kind of sharks that they do exploratory bites. I think great whites and tiger sharks, they do exploratory bites. So they just bite on something to see what it is. I don't want to be that something. So
no, let's not do that.
This time of year, the location that I'll be going to, it will be more so reef sharks, maybe bull sharks, which kind of makes me nervous because they tend to have more testosterone. And I'm not trying, like, I just want to be a friend with a shark. I'm not trying to be like, I will respect this space. But my goal is really just to get good content. Like I want to shoot photos. So I'll be going with a friend. I'll get some photos of me swimming around. I'll get some photos of him where I'm kind of like documenting and really getting good, solid photos. And then filming just really high quality underwater footage. And through this, I'm hoping to learn more. I'm hoping to learn more about sharks from like the experts, as opposed to learning about them through whatever online, like whatever YouTube video, or like I want to go straight to like a scientist and be like, okay, and I learned about this. Why is it okay to swim with nurse sharks, but you should be a little bit more nervous when you're swimming with a tiger shark? Well, you shouldn't be nervous, but you know, you don't want to jump in the water with a tiger shark, but it's okay to jump in with a nurse shark. And I learned that, you know, sharks, they compared them to dogs. It's important to know that sharks are apex predators, but you can compare them to dogs, where you have a Chihuahua or a poodle, and then you have a pit bull. Poodles aren't necessarily known for fighting because they don't have as much testosterone, whereas people use pit bulls for fighting because pit bulls have more testosterone built in. Their bodies are built differently than a poodle. So in terms of like, you know, great whites are aggressive, or, you know, tiger sharks are aggressive. They're not aggressive. They just have more testosterone. But I'm not trying to hand feed anybody.
I would certainly hope not. I would not recommend friendly shark or no friendly shark. I would not recommend hand feeding a shark. That's just not what you want to be doing. Not at all.
It's not my hobby. Not right now, at least. What's really cool about it, or not cool, kind of concerning. I don't know why I said cool. So sharks, they're very curious, and they're curious. Whenever it comes to electricity. So I'm going to be holding this big old thing of electricity with this camera, and they can obviously sense your fear and all of that stuff. So I have to be very calm. They're probably going to be more interested in me, but not in me. They're going to be more interested in the thing that I'm holding.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm going to play it by ear. You know, I might not shoot as much because, I mean, first and foremost, I want to be safe. And if I'm not comfortable with the shark approaching me, I don't want to freak out. So I might hand my camera to somebody else and
say, how do you practice for that? Like, how do you practice for being potential shark bait? There's no training classes for like being potential shark bait. How does that work?
It's all mental. So whenever you're free diving, when you're holding your breath underwater, your body wants to breathe. There's a point where your body is telling you you're dying. So what will happen? You take a deep breath, you're breathing in oxygen. Inside your body, it's making carbon dioxide. When you have enough carbon dioxide, that's when you want to exhale, get rid of it, and then breathe in more oxygen. You can hold your breath for a lot longer than you think. And what happens is when you have that buildup of carbon dioxide, you're not dying, but what will happen is your abdomen will start to contract. And that's your body saying it's time to breathe. But when you start to have contractions, really you're only 30%. Like your tank is 70% full. You've only lost 30%. So you can really push yourself and calm, like you lower your heart rate, and you're using less oxygen when you're calm. So all of that is mental. And it's actually a pretty big struggle for me because I don't like to feel like I'm dying, you know? It's just not a great feeling. But trusting your body and knowing that, okay, I have 30 more seconds As long as I stay calm and I slowly make my way up, I'll be fine. So I imagine that mentally preparing yourself to do these really crazy things, I think that is all mental. People do it. I'm not the only person in the world that has ever gotten in the water and documented sharks.
Oh, I'm sure. And I was just about to say, that's a nice biology lesson, but it doesn't really answer the question of how you prepare to be surrounded by sharks. But you just said it's more mental than anything.
It's all mental.
Uh-huh.
So I've been, I don't know. I'm just going to get in the water and see how it goes. I don't know. I've been thinking about like just calming myself and just being more so in the moment. Got to be very zen. Anyone here? Okay, so hearing me as a Jedi. I've been watching Star Wars for the first time, and you can just call me Yoda. I'm going to be very zen. I don't know. Dude, Yoda, he's freaking badass.
Oh, Yoda is legit.
I don't know if you've seen that little old man move, but
yeah, he's like hopping on
wow.
the place, like he looks like he got arthritis. He can kick you in your face like in 2 seconds because Yoda is.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
Christina, there's one thing. There's the difference between mentally preparing for something and then actually experiencing that something. So, well, you know what? I mean,
it's the first time for everything. I've never experienced it before. So
that's true. And it's not like you've never been underwater before. So obviously you've already done underwater content. So at least that part you'll have down. Now you just have to get over I have a shark approaching me. How do I react?
So with a shark, if it's approaching you, you're supposed to swim straight towards it because their prey swims away from them. Their prey doesn't want to deal with it. You have to essentially assert yourself as the dominant animal in the water. Like I said.
So you really so what you're telling me, Christina, that if you get approached by a shark, you are going towards the shark. Is that what you just told me?
That's what you're supposed to do. It's great. So when you're spearfishing, that's what you're supposed to do. When you're spearfishing, it is I'm excited to like hop back on here in a year when I know way more than what I'm talking about. And it's I've done this a couple times.
We are doing this again. Oh yeah.
This is gonna be a fun journey that we all go on. But so when you're spearfishing, it's a little bit easier to swim straight towards the shark because you have a big spear in your hand. So you have 6 feet to like poke it.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine if like, obviously you want to have like your peripheral vision on. If a shark is swimming towards me, my game plan is camera out. That way I have a big piece of equipment in between me and the shark, because if it's going to be my arm or the A7, it's going to be the A7.
She's the camera. You are the sacrifice.
Yeah. So that's kind of my barrier between me and the shark. But really there's no way to how do you prepare yourself for jumping out of a plane? You just jump out of the plane.
You know what? You can say that about most things in life. There's a lot of things in life that you really just can't prepare for. You just have to dive head first and then.
I mean, it was the same thing. So when we quit our job, I thought back and forth about that so much. We saved, obviously we were responsible, but how do you prepare yourself for saying, okay, no more income. It's all up to me. You don't, you just do it and you adjust as you go. So what I'm excited with this situation is obviously I'm like you said, Viper, I'm very comfortable in the water. I love the ocean. The ocean is inherently an uncomfortable place to be because at all times you're trying to survive. With what we do, I have a camera, I have fins, my mask is fogging up, I got water in my snorkel. It's a stressful place to be, but I really enjoy it and I love the challenge. So obviously wouldn't recommend somebody who could barely swim to go snorkel with sharks, but I'm very comfortable in the water. And I think this would be a good next step for me to learn and become more comfortable with. I mean, I have friends who proper swim with tiger sharks and hammerheads, and like they are shooting. I mean, Viper, I'll have to send you a couple pictures, but they're models with these sharks. They're very comfortable in the water. I'm not trying to necessarily go that direction, but it's not off the table.
Mm-hmm.
But the first step is, okay, let's swim with a nurse shark. Okay, nurse shark was pretty cool. Let's swim with a reef shark. They tend to be a little bit feisty, but like baby steps. I'm not going in with a great white. Not trying to do that.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
Yeah.
So before we get you out of here, I am curious. I know you said you pre-ordered the A7S III, but is there any other tech that you are going to acquire before the end of 2020?
A new iPhone.
Which one?
That's about it.
Any idea which one you're going to get?
I haven't been keeping track. John's channel got deleted, so I haven't really been getting my news. I know that I need a lot of space, and that's about all that I know. I don't really need a big screen anymore. I really like the smaller phones, but I don't think I want to go smaller than what I already have. My phone is somewhere in this house, but
now, do you have the 10S or the 10S Max?
I have the 10S. I don't have the Max.
You are going to be looking at an iPhone 12 Max or a 12 Pro. Both of those are slightly bigger than your 10S Max, but I don't know. I don't know if you're going to rock with the 5.4 inch. That is kind of smaller than the 10S. So not much smaller, but it might. Although you might like the 12. I don't know. Apparently this year there's going to be 4 different iPhones. There's going to be a 5.4 inch iPhone. There's going to be 2 6.1 inch iPhones. And then there's going to be one big behemoth 6.7 inch iPhone. So I'm guessing
I feel like Steve Jobs would be rolling around in his grave if he knew how many products were coming out. That's the same product.
Yeah, just a little bit. Nobody tells Steve, right?
Yeah.
Nobody tells.
We'll keep that a secret.
Right. But yeah, I'm guessing you're going to be between the 5.4 and the 6.1. So you might like the 5.4. I guess we'll find out come iPhone time this year.
Are we gonna get like the finger? I've been dragging on about the fingerprint sensor.
You are still.
They got rid of it.
ID. I know you.
And then everybody's like, "Oh, maybe they'll bring it back now." I'm like, there's
rumors that it might come back next year, but as far as with the newer iPhones, no, you're stuck with Face ID for a little while longer.
Yeah. Well, great.
And I know how much you probably hate even more now given the pandemic.
It's the worst. But yeah. Okay. Did I like the OG SE? I did have the SE. I like the shape of the iPhone. I'm so down for like what they're allegedly coming out with now. I don't know how confirmed is that stuff? I've been so out of touch, literally just trying to survive with everything. So yeah, I'm been really out of touch.
We're going to get a different design from previous iPhones. So they're going to look a lot like your iPhone 10 Max, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be more squared off, more squared edges and things like that. So we are.
I wonder if they'll start breaking more. Remember, there was like an era of iPhones where it was always shattered.
I don't think they're going to break. I think they're going to be using the new Corning Gorilla Glass. So I think there'll be.
But didn't they round the corners because it was? I don't know.
Yeah. I think the corner for this iPhone are going to be more squared off. Okay. But yeah.
Gotcha.
It's going to be
sweet.
Awesome. But Christina Red, welcome back. Thank you for coming back to the podcast. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry I've been dodging you, but I love being on the podcast. I love everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I would tell you to tell the people where they can find you, but they already know. All her information will be in the show notes for you guys, or it's already her channel is in the description of this live stream. If you guys are interested in checking out her underwater content, do what you should. And on that note, shout out to those of y'all that watched the podcast live today. Thank you for hanging out with me and Christina. Janosen just pasted her channel link in the chat. So if you guys want to go check out her channel and her content, definitely go check it out. It is legit. If you super chatted, brought me a coffee, or became a channel member, thank you guys for all of that. Thank you for constantly supporting me. Definitely appreciate you guys rocking out each and every episode of the podcast. Shout out to those of y'all that listen on audio only this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and Christina Red. Appreciate you guys rocking out each and every episode. If you want to go check out her content, her channel, and all her information will be in the show notes. So go down there, check her out. Check out that underwater content. It's legit. Do that. Also, if you want to support the podcast, again, there should be a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Not required, but anything that you're willing to contribute, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Also, if you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review. Trying to get more people to discover the podcast and get back into the top 200 of tech podcasts on Apple. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving that rating or review. It will be definitely appreciated. And thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. For those of y'all who are live here, I know most of you guys are already subscribed, but if for whatever reason you're not subscribed to my main channel, Janothan has that link in the chat as well. That is where I do mostly Apple content. And after today, you're going to find me there more than here. Like I said, this is the last episode of VypDrive for a while. Like I told you guys earlier, I'm not saying that the podcast is gone for the rest of the year, but at least for the next month or two, I'm going to be focusing more on putting out videos on the main channel. So the main channel where you'll find me. My Friday Night Viper live streams aren't going anywhere. Those will still be happening every Friday night. So no worries there. But yeah, just the podcast and stuff is going away for a while so I can concentrate on putting out more regular videos. But thank you guys for rocking out. Thank you for showing out each and every time. And I will see you guys again on Friday night. I thought there was going to be a Painfully Honest Tech podcast tonight, but Jason is out of power, or he's without power tonight. So I don't think we're going to be podcasting over there because there's no power. But yeah, unless something changes, I will see you guys on Friday night for Friday Night Vipe. But until the next time, people, this your boy Viper, the man about tech. You know where to find me. So come back for more.